Hey guys, it's your girl, Crystal Nicole. So I'm so sorry that I'm late making this video. I have not been feeling well for the past couple of days. I'm not feeling well right now. But due to multiple requests for me to make this video, here we are. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into Tory Lanez's appeal. So Tory's team had entered a writ of habeas corpus and an appeal. Now, the writ was when they entered Quan's affidavit plus some other claims that was also written in the appeal. Now, the writ is to protect you from unlawful imprisonment and is a request for the court to release the prisoner, modify their sentence, or to schedule a new trial. The appeal is for the higher court to review the lower court's decision and address any errors that were made during trial. So, two different things, but still hoping for the same outcome, which is a reversal of the lower court's decision. So we are not going to go over all the documents entered, as you've all already heard these arguments multiple times now. So instead, I'm just going to give an easy breakdown of why Tory deserves the appeal to be granted. It'll basically sum up the trial where you can easily see why this was not a clear-cut case of guilt. And if there's still doubt in that guilt, he shouldn't be sitting in prison, as you are supposed to prove a case beyond a reasonable doubt. And there's nothing but doubt in this case. So let's get into it. The main problem we have with the trial is that prosecutors provided nothing to prove Tory was guilty of the shooting. They had no confession, no witnesses, no footage, no DNA, no proof of ownership of the gun, etc. All they had was Megan, Instagram posts, tattoos, music videos, and zero witnesses. They thought they had Kelsey and Justin, but both of those witnesses flipped on them. Justin just refused to show up and had to be hunted down. So the prosecutors then tried to accuse him of being bribed to not show up, and his nudes were then leaked after trial. Justin has never publicly came out and said Tory told him he shot Megan by accident like they claimed he was going to say. He just made a post basically saying he wasn't there to protect Megan that night, but if he had been, Tory wouldn't have shot her, basically. So we have zero proof that Tory ever said this to him, and it seems more like this was something prosecutors came up with, which is why they added on negligence with the assault charge. Because with that story, it's a possibility that Tory didn't mean to harm Megan, but he did by accident. And interestingly enough, I remember reports being made that Tory was going to say it was an accident, which he never did. Were y'all trying to make up a story for Tory? Now, they practically had to threaten Kelsey with jail time to talk. So, of course, she lied to prosecutors when she finally did speak to them. Kelsey had been doing nothing but trying to protect herself since that night, as she said in that 80-minute interview. The main thing Kelsey keeps claiming to be upset with Megan about is not being protected by her, because she didn't say that Kelsey wasn't the shooter when the shooting was made public. And we all know the reason Kelsey was so worried about being protected so badly was because she knew she was guilty. Allegedly. Hence her needing immunity to even testify at trial to not incriminate herself. Now, Kelsey cannot just be ignored and overlooked because there is too much against Kelsey that makes her appear guilty more than Tory. And here's why. 1. 2 eyewitnesses gave the same identical story of a physical fight between the girls before the shooting happened. The person they saw with that gun before Tory was Kelsey. 2. Kelsey tested positive for gunshot residue. She claims she didn't even remember being tested, nor did she have a reason for why she had GSR on her hands. 3. Kelsey looked like she had been in a fight. There was evidence that there had been a fight. 4. The accusation that Tory was the one that fought her didn't hold any weight because Megan never saw that happen, nor did any other eyewitness. They only accused Tory of trying to wrestle the gun away from Kelsey. Besides that, her injuries didn't match the story she gave of a fight with Tory. She only accused him of slapping her or hitting her and knocking her to the ground to get to Megan, and then again pulling her hair to get her out of the car. And that was to Excuse me, and that was to try to explain why they found her necklace and nails on the ground that night. Kelsey had injuries all up and down her legs, like she had been kicked repeatedly, which is what Sean Kelly said he saw happening between Megan and Kelsey. She had bald spots, which also matched Sean Kelly's story of hair pulling by the girls. Her necklace had been snatched off her neck that night and left on the ground, something Megan and Kelsey both rapped about in their diss tracks. And she was in fact missing nails or had broken nails as seen in the evidence photos. 5. Kelsey and Megan immediately ending their friendship. 6. Kelsey being kicked out of Megan's house and fired while Megan was still in the hospital. 7. Kelsey and her lawyer repeatedly denied there being any payoffs to not speak, etc., and that really should have been obvious. 8. Kelsey and Megan's stories of the shooting do not match each other. 9. Kelsey's diss track to Megan, calling her a liar and poking at her about who really shot her. This diss track is a problem because Kelsey basically said Megan was lying about the shooting, that she was lying about everything else, and raised doubt that it was Tory who shot Megan by even questioning if Megan's label even really knew what happened that night and jokingly asking Megan, "Who shot you?" She also once again tried to protect herself by trying to deny that her chain, that necklace, had got snatched that night, and it was in evidence, so why lie? Both Kelsey and Megan knew that admitting that fight would change everything. 10. Kelsey denied Tory did the shooting at trial. She did not recall anything and said Megan's team had told her that she had just stepped on glass. Now that's 10 things that made Kelsey look extremely guilty. Now let's look at the list for Tory, okay? 1. Tory tested positive for gunshot residue, but there was an explanation backed up by 2 eyewitnesses on how it had gotten there, and it was because he tried to wrestle the gun away from Kelsey while it was being fired. Now, does that mean that he had to touch the gun for this to happen? No, it just means that his hands were near the gun when it was being fired, so the GSR did not prove that he shot anybody. He had an explanation for that. Kelsey did not. 2. The gun was found under his seat. The problem with this is there were 3 other people in that car who could have placed that gun there or who it could have belonged to. They presented no evidence of who owned the gun, and his DNA wasn't found on it. So that leaves doubt on if he was the one who had the gun in the car. Had the other 3 been tested, we might have gotten the answer to those questions. So the gun being under his seat did not prove that he shot Megan. 3. Kelsey sent a text to Justin saying Tory shot Megan. The problem with this text is Kelsey having a motive and a reason to lie to protect herself. 2. She did not repeat this to the police at the station. It took her until 2 months before trial to finally say it to prosecutors, and then she took it back at trial while needing immunity to protect herself. Given the evidence against her and her not repeating this statement under oath, Kelsey's text to Justin holds no weight. 4. Tory apologized on a jail call. The problem with this is he gave an explanation for why he was apologizing to Kelsey and why he apologized to Megan later through text. He apologized for starting the fight between the girls by exposing him and Megan's little secret, causing Kelsey to get upset and do everything she did that night in retaliation. Had he not said anything, none of this would have happened. This explanation was backed up by both Kelsey and Megan admitting that Tory had exposed this secret in the car, which did make Kelsey get upset because, as she said, this was not the first time Megan had gone behind her back with a guy that she liked or had been with. Kelsey admitted that her and Tory had hooked up first and stopped because Megan had asked her to due to business reasons, just to find out in the car that it was because Megan wanted him. So this apology explanation was actually legitimate because all parties agreed that this is what caused everything to escalate that night, which is also why Megan didn't want to discuss what the argument was about and why she lied about even sleeping with Tory originally. So what he said about why he apologized wouldn't seem true. If Megan admitted that she had been sleeping with Tory and explained what the fight had been about, it would have made the eyewitness Sean Kelly's story look more legitimate about a physical fight between the girls. So she denied it all until trial. Unless Tory actually said, "I apologize for shooting you," his apology is nothing but just an apology for the reason he gave, and you cannot just infer it had to be about a shooting just because you want it to be about that to make him guilty. 5. Little Juju Made the Beat posted that they matched the bullets from Megan's foot to the one in Tory's gun. This post was used to prove it was Tory's gun, I guess. So why didn't prosecutors bring Juju in to back that statement up? Because he must have seen this gun on Tory before to say it was Tory's gun, right? And they lost those little ass fragments that they pulled from Megan's feet. So I'm not sure when they matched him to his so-called gun, but whatever. Maybe they did it before they lost him. But this post shouldn't have been in evidence nonetheless. 6. Justin, Megan's bodyguard, was claimed to have said that Tory told him personally that he had shot the gun, but he had only shot it at the ground. He was not trying to intentionally hit Megan. But then Justin refused to show up at trial to back this statement up that he allegedly made. He's never presented an affidavit like Jaquan did to back this claim up. So that wasn't evidence of anything either. 7. Megan said he shot her. The problem with this is, so many problems. Megan gave 2 different stories of how this shooting happened. Twice she said that Tory had shot her from the back seat from over top of the car door as she was walking to the back of the car. The problem with this story was it was impossible. If Tory is leaning over the back car door and Megan is walking behind him, how is he shooting at her feet or the ground facing the complete opposite direction and aiming the opposite direction? Was he on top of Kelsey to do this? Or was he leaning over Kelsey to do this? Because Kelsey is sitting in that seat that he had to be in to do this. And according to Kelsey, she never even made it past the back door before he started shooting. So if he shot from there, he would have had to be literally leaning over top of Kelsey to do the shooting. So Megan gave a news story in November where she changed it to he had did it from the front seat now, and now she was walking towards the front of the vehicle. Now, on top of that, she lied about sleeping with him. She lied about even being shot. She told everybody it was glass and it was actually believed. There's a lot of other reasons Megan was not a reliable witness, but we will just leave it at that, okay? Number 8. That's not true Instagram comment about people saying Kelsey shot her. This comment was not made by Tory, but by someone else running Tory's account, and we do not know if they were saying it's not true that people were saying Kelsey shot Megan, because this comment was left in September, a month after Megan had publicly come out accusing Tory. So who were all these people saying that Kelsey was the shooter? Or was this person saying that Kelsey didn't shoot her? I'm going to go with the latter, giving the month of this comment, but let's say for argument's sake that the comment was saying that Kelsey did not shoot Megan. Does that mean that Kelsey wasn't the shooter? No. It could mean that Kelsey was the shooter, but she never actually shot Megan because it was just glass, like Kelsey, Megan, her team, the police, paramedics, and even the ER doctor all said that it was originally. Food for thought. I can't think of anything else to add to this list because there was nothing else. There was no proof of ownership of the gun. There was no DNA of his found on the gun. There was no footage of the event. They did nothing to combat the eyewitnesses' version of events. They didn't prove any bribery happened to any of the witnesses. They literally presented nothing but a bunch of circumstantial hearsay evidence to back up their case. Not to mention the conflicting charges where it seems even they didn't know if this was intentional or not, putting doubt on their main witness's story. Now, the list between Kelsey and Tory show who's guilty and who's not. If Kelsey had been treated like a suspect like she should have been, this would have been a slam dunk case for prosecutors. But as it stands, that is not what they presented against Tory. There was plenty of reasonable doubt that he committed this crime. And I'm still trying to find the overwhelming evidence of his guilt because it's not a part of that list I just made. He was never on probation. Tattoos of a gun does not prove he's the owner of the gun or that he loves guns. No other cases of assault against women, let's say this, not men, but women. Music videos of him expressing himself the same way Megan did means nothing. The live he did questioning her story was needed because people needed to question the things that she was saying because as it turned out, she had not been completely honest out the gate, and this lasted all the way up until trial. Prosecutors, the attorney general, would need to combat the two eyewitness stories of seeing this physical fight and then a shooting by the girl for this to even be denied, in my opinion, because without that, they have nothing to go against the reasonable doubt that is clearly evident in this case because that's where it lies. Without a confession, video evidence, other witnesses to back up their witness, DNA, etc., those two eyewitnesses can't just be ignored in favor of, well, the jury believed he did it, so it must be true. The jury was also heavily manipulated by prosecutors and misled throughout the trial and during closing arguments as well, so they'll have a problem there. The sentencing Tory received seems extreme given the lack of evidence in this case, and his team is arguing racial bias due to this. They want a log of all prosecuted individuals of similar related crimes to Tory to see the sentencing they received to see if Tory received more time due to his race compared to the others. So we will see what happens there. Now, the list above are the reasons why Tory's appeal should be granted, as prosecutors far from presented a case proven beyond a reasonable doubt that Tory did this versus Kelsey, and this definitely needs to be retried with better prepared attorneys. It would be so easy to rip Kelsey and Megan apart on the stand, something that never happened the first time. Shit, let me do it. So, the appeal court has accepted Tory's writ and is considering it. The next steps will be for the Attorney General to respond to see if there should be a reason to issue an order to show cause, which is a court order or the demand of a judge requiring a party to justify or explain why the court should or should not grant a motion or a relief. Now, this is great news, so stay positive, hope for the best, and as always, free Tory.